Here we go. Palantir Weekly, end of year special, 2022.
Don't ring that stupid bell.
Woo!
When I see you in person, I'm going to steal that bell and I'm going to throw it into the goddamn Hudson.
I have two of them, so you're not going to be able to get the other one. Okay. This is episode number 45 of Palantir Weekly. This is 7 weeks away from doing a full year of every single Friday night. Sometimes it wasn't all of us. Sometimes we had different guests, but rain or shine, we managed to get this podcast alive, and we are here. It's a very special moment to be here. Very excited to be here. We're going to be covering Palantir all throughout next year as well. So super, super fun just to see this journey evolve. And I would like to take us back a little bit to the very first days of this podcast before we get into our thoughts of it. This was posted on February 4th, 2022, when Chris messaged me and such and said, "Hey guys, you want to just do a podcast?" And we were like, "For what?" They're like, "We'll just talk about Palantir." So just so everyone knows, the biggest bear of Palantir, this is his channel, decided that we should do a weekly podcast on the company that he has a special place in his heart for. Let's just listen to his intro in the beginning around this new show.
I'm not hearing any more echo. Are you hearing anything of it?
I think we're good. We solved it.
I think we're good. Yeah. All right, everyone. So welcome to Friday. It was a long week. Palantir was moving up and down like crazy, but I think we're finally starting to get some stability in the stock. I think we're really close now to earnings. You guys have any insights into which or any predictions you guys think we're about to see when it comes to earnings?
Sachin, you got this. I was like, I have no idea what to say. So that's the podcast has evolved a lot since then. So, and now I want to take us to one section that is a beautiful section that we've got to revisit. You guys will remember as soon as we watch this. The OGs probably remember this as well. Let's listen to this right here. Okay.
Anything. So that's my regret. And whenever I buy, I always buy in bulk. Okay, I don't wait. The moment
what does bulk mean to you? Can you? I know you're balling over there in Malaysia. What's it like? 20,000, 30,000 at a time? What is bulk? Because bulk to me is like 1,000 at a time. $1,000, not 1,000 shares.
Yeah, that's not bulk for me.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, from that to this, I want you guys to give your thoughts on how you feel before we get into Palantir about this with this podcast we've created over the past year. Sachin, you can start.
I think first, man, really appreciate that this thing has actually been running almost for 11 months now. The learning that comes during the podcast, all the different points, and it's been a tough year, to be honest, for everyone who has invested in Palantir and who has believed in. I mean, when I look back now, I think the thesis about Palantir has been refined for me. My position I think it has gone 3x, maybe more than that since that podcast started. I don't remember exactly, maybe more than that. I interacted with people who are using Palantir during this time, people who are planning to use it, people who hate it, and people from Palantir. I managed to visit Palantir office also during this whole year. So I think my conviction as of now is even stronger than before. There are questions which I still would like to find the answers. For example, like we have seen so many other companies, but when we see in terms of multiples and when we see in terms of GTM, we see there are friction along Palantir, and that forces us to look back into different things. But when so many clients come back and they show their stories, and when I discuss with different clients, I mean, I was involved in a very big data strategy reset for a very large company this year. I think I'm amazed what these guys do. So to me, the question is that can they get their GTM act better, and can they really grow their revenue? To me, the revenue is the only one metric I'm keen of, to be honest, at this point. Because if they manage to grow revenue in a big daddy mode, everything else will be taken care of. And if they don't grow revenue, it doesn't matter how good the product is and how many good points clients are raising. I mean, we are all about to make money only and only if they can grow revenues above street expectations quarter after quarter. And we haven't reached that point yet. Having said that, at this point, I don't know what the bottom will look like. I find it super undervalued. So I have deployed all my cash. That's all I can say. Back to you guys.
You are 100% into the market, and you have no cash left, basically.
I have no cash left. I mean, the whatever was remaining, I have deployed it during December, so I'm all in terms of cash. I mean, I'm not.
Before we go to Chris, the reason you deployed as such is because you feel that we are at or near the bottom. Like it could go lower, but you think this is it at this point.
So I don't know whether we are at or near the bottom. My see, at this point, everyone, and there is almost like 100% consensus about recession and collapse in market. Almost everybody is on that point. When you see, I mean, when you reach this point, ideally, market should crash immediately because market is driven by fear and greed. That hasn't happened. So that's a bit stunning for me. I still believe that indexes have a leg down, but I do believe that these stocks may not go down that much as indexes for now. Okay. Also, we have to be careful that next year, all the president aspirant will kick on their campaign. And if you have a weak economy, weak market, inflation high, yeah, I think you know how much they are going to kick the sitting president, both from both parties. So, from economic point of view, do we need to reverse now? Probably not. But from reasons other than economic, there will be a lot of pressure on Feds and everyone to pivot at some point of time. At least they need to start messaging. Okay, so I do believe that they will reach the interest rate of 5.25%. But I also do believe that by the end of the year, 2023, the interest rate will be back to around 4%. Okay, back to you guys.
Okay, Chris, some of your thoughts about the podcast first, and then kind of how you're feeling about Palantir in general.
I enjoyed our podcast. I mean, we got to meet a lot of great people. We brought on a lot of great people who basically worked with Palantir at some point or have interacted with their management in CodeStrap. And so I think this is a very complex company and technology in itself that's very hard to understand for a lot of people. And the only thing that I would say that we did a really good job on is we may not have determined the business value as solidly as possible, but we at least tried to dig down into the technology to give the viewers and investors a better in-depth knowledge of what Palantir can do, essentially. There's definitely areas where I think the business has changed from its original expectations. Some of it is related to macro, some of it's related to their execution. Unlike Sachin, you guys know, midway through the year, I had sold out of my position because the management wasn't necessarily performing to the expectations that I kind of wanted them to. And at the same time, there were other opportunities that were starting to come up also, right? So I think each of us, we're still learning about this company. I am still always digging, like no matter, even if I'm not invested, like right now I have a very, very tiny position in Palantir, and I still do research on Palantir because at the end of the day, I'm always looking out for the next big opportunities. One of the things that I'm seeing with Palantir is that, their government business is still doing really well. You guys see with the Ukraine situation, how dramatic they were in helping kind of like change the course of a war. So everything that we've said about the technology being superior is definitely a valid point. The question is, how is it going to be monetized, and how does the company bring shareholder value to us, right? Because at the end of the day, if the company is being run for the benefit of employees and the executives, and us as shareholders don't see the end result of that, then that's something that, we should be questioning, right? So I think at this point, I am still leery of Palantir. I think now I'm in a mode where I'm still going to be researching them, but it's not tell me, it's show me. So if they show me that they can actually execute, they can, take some steps to increase shareholder value, I'm not against buying back into the company, but I hope I've been objective in my reasoning when talking about Palantir, about how I feel about it. Everyone, whenever I'm talking, I try to be as honest as possible and just tell you guys my opinion, right? Whether that be good or not is a whole different thing. Like sometimes I know people have come at me saying, "Oh, this is the stock that you really liked," and then now all of a sudden you hate it. And I'm like, no, I don't hate companies. I don't hate anything. I just, I'm in the market to make money. And at the end of the day, I'm hoping that everyone else is in the same boat. You can like a company, but don't necessarily feel strongly about its money-making potential or the value that it can create for you as a shareholder, right? So when it comes to things like that, like I said, I try to bring objectivity into these discussions. And I also try to compare it against other companies that may be better at generating that shareholder value, right? Especially if it's in a field that's not 100% similar to Palantir, but within that's adjacent to what Palantir is trying to do. So, yeah.
Hey, Chris, let me ask you one more question before I get into my next set of questions. The reason for selling, can you remind people, like, succinctly, what was that reason and why it has lingered on since you have sold and not really changed your sentiment around the company?
I mean, it all came down to the executives not being able to perform. And it's not, and here's the thing. They set the expectations. They said that they were going to grow 30% year over year, and they were missing their own targets, right? So it wasn't something that I did. At the end of the day, you're a data analytics company, and you're saying you have certain growth targets, and you're missing them. And at the same time, you're not exactly, being, what's the word? Like being cautious to the shareholders are actually providing the value. Some of the comments also like, hey, there's a big world out there. If you don't like us, go buy someone else. Like, okay, no problem. If you think that shareholder value should be the secondary part of what you're trying to do, then that's fine. When you start generating value for shareholders, I'll become one again, right? So if you go back, you can see that my biggest objection was, number one, Alex Karp kind of not really running the company in a way that it should be in order to to be valued at the price that it was valued at. And maybe that's going to change. Maybe the stock price being so low is something that's going to give them a kick in the pants to say, hey, maybe we should rationalize our hiring. Maybe we should have a more effective DevOps, developer community so that we can scale faster. Maybe we need to work on our products to change them so that they're not something that requires 4 deployed engineers and hiring, 10, 15 people just to get one deployment done. So these are the kinds of things that I think a lot of times the stock market will do, where the stock market will punish you, in which case the punishment goes a long way towards helping the company, realize the error of their ways. And when they do realize the error of their ways, I'll be there to pick up some shares. So, yeah, I do, however, think that this could be, and this is something that I was trying to read 0 to 1, and it came down to PayPal, right? Where the timing of PayPal IPOing was like a master class in value. Like they literally came out at the top. They had enough money they generated, and then the next 10 years was nonstop growth for PayPal, right? So I think this could be a very similar thing for Palantir, where they're capitalized really well. They knew that the market was really up there, right? They didn't want to go the traditional IPO route and deal with that nonsense. So they DPO'd. They got a ton of cash on their balance sheet. And now they have a healthy runway where they can, possibly, create value. The only thing is, in the short term, I definitely see that there's a lot of other companies that are very undervalued that could provide a better return than waiting for Palantir over the next 10 years, right? So if your goal is Palantir for the next 5-10 years, and you feel like they're going to be able to perform, by all means go for it. But me, I'm also I'm short term in my thinking as well as being long term. So right now in the short term, I think there's a lot of great opportunities that I don't want to miss out on. And I'm still sitting on a significantly large cash position. I have dipped my toes in a few companies here and there. Like you see my position with Meta. But other than that, I'm still sitting on a good amount of cash, because I think the next quarter is when I'm going to start deploying a lot more heavy, because I see that there are dramatic changes coming to the market, in which case this undervaluation will eventually end. And when it does, it'll be a great time to ride the market higher for another 5 years until the next recession comes along.
Chris, in your opinion, in short term, I mean, what opportunities do you think are better than Palantir?
So right now, if you look at big cap tech, like mega cap, especially Meta is literally down to almost a single digit PE. Like they're down to like 10 PE, and majority of their problems are directly related to operational expenses and capital expenses, which they're easier to write through layoffs and through cutting back on scaling, and then they just have a ton of cash flow coming in, which they can use towards share buybacks and everything else. So when you think about it, a healthy company that's gone down, especially if it's not necessarily 100% justified, will bounce back quicker than a company that still has to prove itself. Meta has proven itself to be a money-making operation. Google has proven itself to be a money-making operation, right? There's definitely a chance for a V-shaped recovery in those names at a faster clip than something like Palantir, which is going to take time and also business to get back into a position where, they're able to once again, like, tell the market, like, hey, we're a high growth company. Right.